Mojave Cafe is a great place. This is our 6th month for having our evening at Mojave. We started last August, and then we started this series for good in October. We've been running right along with this. This is a great place. Paul Marshall has built a wonderful establishment. The food is great. The coffee is great. They have wine and beer, and those get even greater as you go along through the night. You know how that works. Sam, I would have to say, by disclosure, he is my nephew, but he's still a fantastic player. That's not why we hired this guy. Great nephew. I'm not sure exactly how that works. By marriage. Okay. We won't tell him that. Sam is kind of finishing school, more or less, in a very controlled manner. I like that. He's playing around town for a few months. I'm not sure what you're doing after that.
I started a new job this week. Let's go to Nebraska Bank of Commerce.
Nebraska Bank of Commerce. All right. So Sam's actually gainfully employed, right? Okay. Sam has been a musical nerd almost, probably since 15.
5.
You'd start practicing in your room at 3 o'clock in the morning. You'd still be practicing, and the homework wasn't done yet. I remember that. I heard about that. So that's enough full disclosure on Sam. He'll be back, as they said, around 7:45, in that range. Otherwise, tonight we've got 2 fantastic writers with us. We have Sarah McKinstry Brown from Omaha. We have Grace Bauer from Lincoln. Both are going to be up. Sarah will be first. She'll be on roughly for 30 minutes. Hopefully she'll tell us a little bit about her history. I think Matt is home babysitting tonight. Something like that. That's been a shared partnership. Matt and Sarah have both contributed mightily to the slam poet scene in Nebraska. So let's give the slam poetry scene in Nebraska a big hand. Fantastic thing. One of the greatest series right now is Louder Than the Bomb Great Plains. It is probably the 2nd or 3rd most popular slam poetry series for high school students in the country. That's how well things are working here in Nebraska. And that kind of thing is marvelous. Sarah also has taught a number of workshops and seminars over the years. I've been to one in Omaha that was close to downtown. She has been busy with writers groups, both individually with several people and 25 or 30 people. So it's not that she writes poetry only, but that she writes poetry with people and at people and for people. So that's a good way to talk about it. Beyond that, I'll let Sarah give you a little bit more information about herself. Without further ado, Sarah McKinstry Brown.
I don't usually sit, but I was teaching 7th and 8th graders all day. So, which was great. They were great. And they wrote great stuff, but I just need to sit, maybe. We'll see how it goes. Can you hear me? No? I can yell, but, or maybe, okay. Smart Alex. And I was with 7th and 8th graders all day, and then I get it from the adults. I'm not really going to say much, except that Rex had mentioned the Poetry Slam in Nebraska, and what a big part my husband has been in that. But I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank you all for being here. I was thinking when I was driving here about Mark Smith, who's the founding father of the Poetry Slam movement, which is performance poetry. And my husband and I got to see him give a talk when he was stepping down as sort of the grand master of slam and passing the baton. And it was during a time when slam was becoming very commercial, and like malt liquor companies were wanting to start sponsoring poetry slam teams, and money was coming in. It was getting a bit corrupted. And he was stepping down, and he said, I just wanted to say that people think it's about the poet too much in slam, but it's never been about the poet. It's always, for me, been about bringing people together in a room to have a shared experience who wouldn't normally be in a room together. So it's like a kind of communion, really. So thank you. We're all going to break poetic bread. All right. So I'm going to open with a poem called God is DJ. Thank you, Sam, if you're still here. I loved hearing you. I always wanted to be a musician or a dancer, but I guess I have to make music with my words or dance with my words, but you were fantastic. And my dad was a big music lover and a big reason why, when I started thinking about it, why I fell in love with poetry, because poetry is so much about making music with your words. Also, one of the founding members of Earth, Wind, and Fire passed away this past year, and we also lost Prince, and so this is kind of to celebrate the musicians we've lost. God as DJ. Holy, holy, holy. Got a pot of black coffee and I'm smoking this galaxy to the filter. It's after midnight, y'all, and those stars your mama made you wish on are static. So let's see these phones ignite. You think it's me who saves? Al Green is the one can break and mend in the same breath. If I can't stand the rain, don't make your daddy sit down at the kitchen table and weep into his fists, then he ain't got no soul to save. Call me, I'll spill anything for you crows building lives out of gum wrappers and barbed wire. Right now I'm gonna put the needle down and summon earth, wind, and fire, because we both know it's the only salve there is for all the nights you're gonna spend burning neath my moon. This one goes out to all the maniacs in their little pink houses, all you mamas and papas pacing living room floors with your bundled wailings. And for the rest of y'all, remember, it's the devil wanna burden you with wings. It was me set you free with hips and fingertips. Could be your bones as dazed from dust. So go on now, get thee to the bedroom, the back seat, the dance floor. Call in those requests. I'll only say no if you ask for stupid shit, like Donna Summer or some little red Corvette. I'm a huge Prince fan, but every time I heard Little Red Corvette on the radio, I was like, that's not the only song he ever did. He did so many great songs, and that's all we ever hear. Okay, so this next piece, I just recently got published in a magazine, a literary journal called Rattle, that I've been trying to get into for a decade. So I'm really excited about it. Thank you. And there's a watercolor artist named David Rathman who makes these beautiful, delicate-looking watercolors of like burned out cars and old buildings and all these desolate kind of urban landscapes. So it's this weird tension between this beautiful watercolor and what he's painting. And his watercolors had all these great titles. Like one was "It's All About Where You Put the Horizon." Another one, oh yeah, great, right? Another one was "Baby, We Were Born to Bruise." And another was "Deserves Got Nothing to Do with It." So I was looking for some inspiration. I was like, who talks like that? So I came up with these people in my mind that say those kind of things. So it's all about where you put the horizon. He said if he had more lifetimes, he'd give you at least 2. But you really just wanted the one you made for yourselves between midnight and sunrise every other Thursday night at the Stardust Inn. You knew it was easy to be the other woman. When he pulled you toward him, neither of you had to work to soften. There was no trash to take out, no dishes, no children, nothing stacked between you. Friends said you deserved better, but deserve had nothing to do with it. The night he said, "Baby, we were born to bruise," his hand turned up the stars and that stupid city finally receded until nothing was left but the two of you, famous in each other's arms, your bodies working like cogs, the thick motel curtains shut tight against the coming morning. You didn't even mind the dark that came after, when he slipped away to drive his kids to school and you were left to your dreaming, their small faces, echoes, slowly coming into focus. This next piece is, it's a bit long and it's a bit dark. And so when I got here, it's joyful and all this sunlight, and I thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't, but I don't know. Life is light and dark. I wrote this poem after reading a Yusef Komunyakaa poem called My Father's Love Letters. So I recommend you Google that, My Father's Love Letters, Yusef Komunyakaa. It just kind of split me open. So it starts with an epigraph. This is called Genealogy for My Daughters, and it starts with an epigraph. Genetic factors appear to play a significant role in alcoholism and may account for about half of the total risk for alcoholism. The New York Times, July 9th, 2011. By the time I figured out that whiskey made me angry, I was overseas, away, kicking my fallen best friend in the ribs, pleading in the dark, screaming street, "Why can't you just be a man?" That was my first real lesson in addition and subtraction. I vowed afterward to only drink the clear stuff, to stay away from anything amber. No more bourbon, marigolds, Wurlitzers, monarch butterflies, Raymond Carver. No more sunrises or sunsets, no more Tom Waits or slow burning fires, no more long walks in November. Sorrow is when you're afraid to love anything that glows. Is when you believe that any kindness is a sniff of raw meat, a dab of honey baiting the trap. Before your father was your father, daughter. He came to my front door with flowers and my heart sank. I sneered, "What do you want from me?" That fragrance, an anchor, dropping me right back into my mother's kitchen, her eyes fixed on the vase stuffed with lilies, a plea for her to keep quiet about last night, last week, and all the ones before it. See, Mom's taste in men, her love for all things broken, taught me metaphor. Around our house, poems wrote themselves. Love is a busted deadbolt on the front door. Regret is the next morning, those same hands shaking as he mends the broken chain on your blue bicycle. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe regret is the busted deadbolt and it's love that's the shaking hands. I can never seem to keep it straight. And this is why, daughter, I am writing to you from all these years away to tell you I am glad I learned to take flowers from your dad. That no gesture is empty. And that while my father waltzed with his guilt and my mother her fear, the two of them spinning and spinning, I held my breath, a bright penny tight in my fist, my hands at my side, which is why, sweet daughter, now that I've arrived decades later, with my life still intact, I am giving you this. Another kind of downer, but it's short. Oh, this is from my beautiful stepsister who is really struggling with addiction. And this is in my first book, Cradling Monsoons, and I have a couple of them for sale. It's called Origami Girl. They say you've got a thing for heroin. They tell me things have changed, that I wouldn't recognize you. They say you're an origami girl, guided by men's strange hands. Yesterday you were a fish. Today you resemble a rose. Tomorrow your mother will knock on the bathroom door to find you blue in the face. And with your legs askew, your arms outstretched, your clothes not on, the medic will mistake you for a swan. Though you're swimming in some waters I don't want to know, I won't tell you to pull yourself together. I remember our small chests rising and falling as we chased each other around the yard, and in my mind, in girl time, I hold you, origami girl. Unfold your lungs, origami girl. Untie your tongue. Take the needle out of your arm. Pick your dreams up off the ground. Dust them off on my jeans and pin them back onto your dress where they always belong. Okay, so a little lighter. This is, I knew, like, I don't know, aging is so interesting, especially if you're a woman. And all of a sudden it was like there was some shift, and all of a sudden I went from a miss to a ma'am. Like, I don't know how, it was like, it just happened. And so, and then I decided I was young enough for the older women to call me honey, but old enough for the younger men to call me ma'am. That's kind of what I decided. So this is kind of about that, and but I have to find it. I'm sorry, just give me a second here, because I did change some of what I was. It's here. Okay, so becoming my mother. It's the increase of young men behind grocery store registers whose sweet, heavy-lidded eyes only lock with mine long enough to ask, paper or plastic? When they add ma'am without any hint of irony or southern hospitality, I know I'm slipping into my mother's skin. I answer the phone with her voice. Her hands grind the coffee beans. And who is this listening to NPR in the morning while the fresh-faced girls in the neighborhood trudge toward school, peonies hanging their heads under the weight of their own blossoming? Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple more, and then we'll hear from Grace. It's really cool I get to read with you. It's been a really long time, so I'm excited. Okay, a couple more. This is Supper with Amy. And I tried to keep track of time, but am I going to go over if I do 2 more?
If you do 4 more, you'll be fine.
Okay, I'm just going to do 2 more. I'm not going to do 4 more. I don't want you to feel like my voice is punishing you. We don't want to get to that point. Okay, Supper with Amy.
You're fine, ma'am.
Just call me ma'am, because you're fine, ma'am. Somebody call me honey, quick. Sweetie.
Honey, sweetie.
Honey pie.
That's Michael.
Okay, Supper with Amy. She sets the table, tells me there's nothing better than sharing a whole roasted chicken with someone you love. Still learning how to be in each other's company, we are polite, slice our meat with a knife. But when she says, I've devoured a whole chicken using nothing but my hands, something about the image of her pulling apart a wing with her teeth, her fingers shimmering in grease, makes me confess, I am so lonely. Later, the moon rises slow and low as she strokes the arch of my foot with her thumb, tells me the one man whose sweat she lived to smell and taste was the same one who, after years, she could not let enter her house. I picture them on her porch, him leaning into her hair, ignoring her warning, your lips better not even brush my neck. Sated, it comes to me like breath. I want to remember how it feels to be that starved, that wrecked. Okay, this is the last piece I'm going to read for you. Thanks again for, it's 2016. I feel like the world is going to hell, but we're all in this room listening to poetry, so it's like we've got little thimbles full of water. The earth is on fire, but we're still trying to keep our humanity intact here, so thanks for coming out. Ode to Desire. I love writing odes with students and all population. An ode is a celebratory poem where you can speak to all these different everyday objects or grandiose objects. So I've heard like ode to my iPhone. I've heard ode to stress. I've heard ode. Pablo Neruda wrote an ode to the spoon. So it's a way of kind of discovering how miraculous everything is in the world, no matter how small. And so here is Ode to Desire, and this is for my husband, who, is always like, always touching, and I'm like, sometimes you just want your space, and then I thought, God, I'm so lucky. Some people go whole weeks without a hug or anything. So Ode to Desire. Tasks. Set the rice to simmer so she can lean her tired frame against the kitchen counter. His eyes on her as she slips her hand into the back pocket of her jeans, tilts her head this way, then that to remove each earring. And woe is the husband whose desire is there always at his heels, like a good dog or a bad idea. I see how you anticipate what might come if she just let herself forget the book's spine. Set it face down for once. Leave the pages splayed open. Trust that she could pick up where she left off again. How insistent. What makes you hover, desire? Makes you hunger just outside the door where they tuck in the children? And when he checks the deadbolt on the front door while she moves from room to room to room to shut off the lights, how bright this darkness, what bloom this ritual, the promise that the thing they've kept chained all day, left starving, the thing they've let drown in the bottom of the well, breaks the surface, lungs like roses, how they coax it back to life with fingers and tongues until it rises. Oh, holy, oh, song, let it come, this, the body's fecund resurrection.